Hello. Let's see. Okay, trying to set up this camera. It was a little hard. um, yeah. So I watched the movie called San Andreas yesterday, and I loved it. I thought it was good. I recommend it. When it first, well, I kind of like disaster movies. I don't know why. Not just any disaster movies, but weather disaster movies. Twister from the 90s was one of my favorite. They made another Twister movie recently, which I was okay with, not really that great. But I don't know, I just thought the first one was fun. And so, of course, when San Andreas came out, half of me said, "You don't want to see that." And the other half said, "Yes, I do." And so there I went and saw it. And another reason I wanted to see it is because I'm from California. So I thought, well, maybe I'll get to see pictures of home. That's what happens when you've been away for a long, many years and you can't get back. Someday I'll figure out how to get back. Anyways, so yeah, I'd love to see if there's anything about home. The only thing in the movie that was very familiar to me was the, what's it called? Gosh. The Hoover Dam. There we go. Hoover Dam in Las Vegas, because I'd been up there I think a couple times, at least twice. I know one time I was pregnant with Hannah, so as far as timing, that would have been 17 years ago. Been a while. And of course, the church I was in, like a lot of very radical churches, when they see something like the Hoover Dam, they start doing prophecies. There's going to be an earthquake. The water's going to go and kill all those people. And yeah, so that was going on 17 years ago. Okay, and I don't know if you're familiar with all the like prophecies during, I think it was the 80s, of the coast of California, you know, going into the ocean and the big tsunami that was going to come. And every year it was going to be that year. I think when we kind of got into that for a while was when we're leaving Newport Beach and moving to San Diego on our boat. For those of you who don't know, I was raised on a sailboat from the age of 10 to 19, and I was about 14, so let's see, that had to have been around 83, 84, you know, somewhere in there. And it was, I can't remember, some famous person. If I hear his name, I'll know who he is. He was known for his prophecies, and he prophesied that that year was going to be the big earthquake. Basically, what if you saw San Andreas, that's pretty much what we expected to happen to California through these prophecies. And a lot of churches were collecting food and water and medical supplies and trying to find out the best place to be during a tsunami and an earthquake. And at the time, I lived on Coronado, well, not on, but we were off of Coronado Island, so Coronado was our home, basically. And Coronado is it's called an island, but it's like a peninsula. And if there was a tsunami, there'd be like no place to go there at all. But of course, you know, we had like possibly good ideas. But yeah, so that didn't happen. But as someone who lived in California, I did experience earthquakes. But I lived in Southern California, and people not from California, a lot of them seem to think that what you see like in the northern part of California and the bricks falling off the buildings and all this stuff, that doesn't happen in the entire California area. California is huge, and the earthquakes I felt were not very big. They may have been big up north, but they weren't very big down south. So most of us Southern Californians have like funny earthquake stories. I suppose if we lived in the north and somebody died or got injured, it wouldn't be so funny anymore. It would be awful. But we have the funny ones because it wasn't so bad. And I'll just go ahead and tell you my first memory of an earthquake. It was when I was little and we were still living in the house. And my sister was at a friend's house, her best friend's house, about 2 blocks away. And I was by myself with the closet. We had a big closet with the closet doors, and we had a bunch of dolls and cars and stuff. And I had them like all around me, and I was playing something. And we had bunk beds at the time, wooden bunk beds. And my parents were in the house. So it must have been a weekend because my dad was there. So I'm playing and it's deathly quiet, and you know, as a kid playing by yourself and things are deadly quiet, things can freak you out. Like the first time I discovered the Sandman, which, you know, that your heartbeat where you can hear it thumping, freaked me out so bad. And my mom had to help me understand that her parents told her, or her mom told her it was the Sandman, but it was actually your heart. It was nice of my mom to tell me the truth on that one. Well, of course, she didn't tell us stuff. We believed in Jesus, but we didn't believe in Santa. So, and we didn't believe in the Sandman. Anyway, so there I'm sitting there, quiet as can be, and the bunk beds start creaking behind me. And I knew there was a burglar on the bunk bed. Not that that makes any sense now. But my little brain, that was the only thing that came to mind. There was a burglar, and I was petrified, and I couldn't move. I couldn't turn around to look. I just sat there, like, frozen. And then I heard my dad yell from the other room, "Lori!" And I think I jetted out of that room really fast. It would have been nice to have had, like, a speedometer. Because I flew out of that bedroom. And he's like, "Lori, you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, he says, "Look," he's had me stand under the doorway, because that's what we did, the doorway thing. At school, we did the practice under the desks, and at home, we had to stand under doorways. So he's like, "Stand here with me." And I think my mom was just sitting on the couch. She's like, "I'm not going to go stand under the doorway." My dad and I are there, and he says, "You see the lamp?" And the lamp was swinging. I'm like, "Yeah." He says, "We just had an earthquake." And I said something like, "Oh, good." And he thought, "What?" He says, "I was worried you'd be upset." And I like told him I was just glad there was no robber or burglar on my bed. It was just an earthquake. Anyway, so that was my part of the story. And I always enjoy my sister's side of the story because she was down the street and got to experience her first earthquake at a friend's house. And that one wasn't so pleasant because that one caused a fight. Her and her friend were making sandwiches at their table across from each other, I guess. And Carrie is very feisty. She's my older sister, so she's the boss. And so she, even with her best friend, she would hit heads with them a lot because, you know, she's the boss. And not everyone just accepted that, including her best friend. Her best friend's name was Dane. And so Dane and her are sitting there making sandwiches. And the table starts rocking, and I don't know who went first. One of them said, "Hey, I'll just go with one name. Dane, stop rocking the table." And Dane's like, "I'm not rocking the table, you are." And then they like started fighting because they thought each other was lying. And then they both didn't like lying. Lying is wrong. And then they heard Dane's grandpa from the other room say, "Hey, it's an earthquake." And thankfully that stopped the argument. I still find that really funny. Okay, so that was my like big first earthquake. And over time, you know, I experienced little ones, or on the boat, we didn't always feel them, but we'd hear about them later. And however, one time in San Diego in Glorieta Bay, we were anchored. We were anchored there for many years. We did feel the line, we had the chain and the line for our anchor at the front. We felt it jerk, like the boat just jerked with that line. And we could hear like a roar in the city because Coronado's kind of outside of the main city. But we could hear a roaring sound. It was really weird. There wasn't like a lot of damages or anything, but it was weird I didn't know you could hear it until that point. So there was that. And I remember one time on my dad's motorcycle, we stopped at a stop sign and it felt an earthquake, and that was kind of weird. But the last one I remember feeling was actually really cool because all the earthquakes I'd felt before were jerks, you know, like just like a jerk. And this one was different. And this was a rolling one, and I don't think I even knew there was different kinds of earthquakes, so it was kind of exciting for me. I was working at the Hotel del Coronado in the as an operator, and the operators were in a trailer outside of the hotel. And I was working the graveyard shift, but it was morning. Yeah, I think it was that. Or it might have been a different shift. Anyways, I know it was morning. And I went to the bathroom. I was looking in the mirror, and I thought that I was getting sick because I felt like this, you know, where things kind of go in and out. And I thought, oh my God, I'm getting sick. And then I heard the other ladies going on about an earthquake, and I realized I wasn't sick. It was an earthquake. So I went out, and they're like, "What do we do?" Because none of them were from California. And I was like, "Wow, you're supposed to stand under a doorway, but we're in a trailer." So there's really nothing we can do. And so they actually had to hold on to the desk because they were all in rolling chairs and the chairs were trying to roll across the room. And it felt like I could see like a wave on the ground come towards me and I had to like surf balance myself. That was really strange. And because I'd never seen a rolling earthquake, always shaking. So then when I went to go home, which was soon after that, so yeah, I was working graveyard because it was still soon. When I was going, they had these big cement slabs that made up the ground. And again, an earthquake hit, and I could see the ground like just a roll, like a small wave coming at me. So I just kind of, I'm not really actually a surfer, but you live in a surfing town, you know how to stand. And if you live on a boat, you know how to balance on anything, really. So I kind of got my balance on and let it roll by. And being a rolling earthquake, it was a little freaky because I hadn't experienced that and thought, you know, is this going to do more damage? Is it going to be worse? But it didn't seem to. I mean, there's always little damages, of course, but not like the big things. There's some high rises. They're not super high compared to other high rises in the world, but they're called the Coronado Shores, and there's some condominiums, and they're made earthquake proof, so they're made to sway. And being out in the bay, that was kind of cool because you could see like barely any movement because like I said, it wasn't huge earthquakes, but you could see a little bit of swaying. And some of the guys we knew that worked there said if, like, I think it was just one of them was up near the top and felt the sway and said it was pretty freaky. I can imagine it's freaky, but you want the swaying because if it's stiff, it crumbles. So the freaky swaying is good. I don't know though, like watching San Andreas, I don't know how much of that was realistic. It's curious to know. I should like watch, like, I hope they do something about what parts were realistic, which were completely false. Because even though I'm from California, I'm actually not an earthquake expert. But don't tell the other Californians I gave that away, because you're not supposed to know.